Hi, I'm Kendall.
And I'm Mandy, and we're
The
Bookish
Bookish
Besties.
Besties. So I'm Kendall, and I read anything usually that isn't romance. I like thrillers, but I do not really, how do we call it? I do not say no to certain things. I like books that are thrilling that may not necessarily end in murder. So I'm kind of like the wild asterisk of our friend group here.
And I'm Mandy. I enjoy, as we can all guess, romance novels. Once upon a time, loving things. If it has murder in it, there better be because of a love interest.
Or some sex
Or
for Mandy.
Yeah, probably people like to say I can be a smut aficionado, but there usually is a really good plot in there.
And she's your smut aficionado.
So anyway, so I enjoy reading a lot of romance novels across the board, contemporary, paranormal, all of the above. So hopefully I can give you guys a lot of recommendations on that. And moving forward, it should be pretty fun because this podcast, not only will we talk about a lot of our own favorites and what we like, what we don't like, hot book topics, but we'll also spend a lot of time convincing the other person to read one of our books.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we thought would be really beneficial is you could see how people with very different reading styles or reading genres can be friends, and there is some overlap. Like there's some series we adore above all others.
There are some series that are like really, really awesome that we've read together that have been a mix of both of the things that we like. But we also, I guess, my biggest thing, and we'll hope to push out of the comfort zone, is to read things that we probably wouldn't have read before. I can assure you that there are a lot of things that I have read that I've given to Kendall, and she has looked at me and thought I am crazy. And I've probably picked up some of Kendall's books and thought, I'm questioning our friendship. So it's a lot of fun. It's exciting to think about. But really, just to start out, we want to let y'all know our top 3 favorites for each of us. And I think we've got some good ones.
So this isn't going to be a shocker, even to you. But first up is The Silent Patient.
Yes, that was like the first book.
The thing that will stop me from giving a true thriller a 5 star is if I can guess the ending, which is like all the time. I guess the ending
You're far
to Inception.
too good at that, yeah.
Yeah, like it is very hard for me to be genuinely shocked and it not be bad. Like if it's just some like left-wing thing, I really don't like it. It needs to make sense with the characters and the plot development. And for a debut novel, this shook me to my core. I did not see it coming. Like I read through the pages, I'm like, how did I not see this? It makes total sense. So if you are a thriller lover that has the same problem I do, that half the time you guess the ending, pick up this book. Pick up this book today. Today, my number 1 all-time recommendation thriller book.
In the day, as long as you read this book.
Yes. If you read this book, we can be friends. DM me like today because I need to find more people that have read this book. So my second might be a little shocking, but it's a classic, The Great Gatsby. I'm a sucker for Gatsby. I will always be a sucker for Gatsby. I will always hate Daisy Buchanan. And I think Fitzgerald's way of having Nick Carraway as a narrator is just like that perfect artistic touch.
And you have to, I've read this one, you've got to read it. The book, I mean, not the book, I apologize. The movie, I mean, it's great and all too, but this was probably one of the few books in high school that when I read it, I was like, okay, this is good.
Because it has romance in it.
Well, that's true too.
I mean, just enough. Do you see how this connects yet? But here's a romance book I don't think Mandy's read. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, this is famous on Booksta. TJR is a goddess. But when I first saw this everywhere, I was like, this has got to be overhyped. So I found like a $3 really bent out of shape paperback copy and read it. And I knew nothing about it. I fell in love. And it's so not my typical genre, but it really marked a place in my heart and made me learn a lot of things about sexuality and identity and relationships and love that I hadn't really been exposed to before in such a way. Like this is just a really beautiful masterpiece and I highly recommend you to pick it up or like a thrilling tale. And I think it's coming to Netflix or
It
Hulu.
is. I think it's making either a TV show or a movie, and everyone's raving about it.
Yeah.
Book Talk and Bookstagram.
So this one is worth the hype. I promise you. Like, even if like romance isn't your usual thing and you're like, oh, I don't want to read about like 7 different relationships, I can barely handle one book about a relationship. Pick it up. Pick it up. It's really good. So are you surprised?
I would say I'm surprised, because if I'm being very cynical, I would have thought you would have brought like all these horror books and
They're in the box.
mystery.
There's more.
There's
These
more.
are the top 3.
These are top 3. Yeah, because it's not surprising for me what I pick. I mean, not really, because they're basically all romances, and it's very hard. Yes, Once Upon a Time. It's very hard for me to pick probably a top 3 favorite for mine. I read so much so fast, and that's only because I'm not always reading large books. I read a lot of stuff on Kindle Unlimited and a lot of short novellas. I've really been across the board, but 3 that I've picked out that are some that really are some of my top favorites. And of course, Kendall won't be surprised by this first one, is that it was Court of Mist and Fury. Once again, great all over Book Talk, Bookstagram. Everyone has read Court of Thorns and Roses. Kindle, as well as our really good friend, the fun size reader, Amanda, got us/me hooked on this series. I'll admit, I'm much like all of you guys. Much like other series, there was a lot of hype behind it. And the biggest fear always is something not living up to the hype. And then, of course, with a book this size and the books are huge, you don't want to invest a lot of time and effort into a book that you're not going to finish. Holy guacamole, y'all. So the first book was great, but read the first book to get to the second one. You want to talk about development of characters, everyone from the hero to the heroine to our side characters. It has everything. The romance is there, and I'm very impressed with this. There's a good, strong romance there, but this plot and this storyline develops beautifully. And book 1, book 3, book 4, all the books in the series are great. But just read it just to read this one. Just to read this one. Covers a lot of discovery. If I could put myself in a fictional world, this is probably one of the top 3, I'd have to say. So this one's not so surprising. So then the next one I'm going to do is definitely more along the lines of some of my more, people would say freakier stuff. Spicy stuff. I don't want to say freaky. So again, this book, it's not the first in a series. This is called The Master by Tara Sumi. It's part of a book series called the Submissive series. And this is, I believe, book 5. So tiniest little bit of background. I believe the first 3 books follow one couple, and then the following books follow different couples. What I adore about this one, and the slightest backstory, is Sasha is our female main character and Cole is our male main character. It does focus around a BDSM club, and I know that's a little bit weird for some people, but there is some really good plot here. My favorite thing about this is the development of characters and trust in this. Sasha, unfortunately, in a book prior to this, had a very, very traumatic experience, and it's difficult for her to get by. And then Cole, who is again our hero, comes in, and you just fall in love from the get-go. And what I really, really liked about this one is, again, I can't talk about how you believe in chemistry and trust between 2 people. Like, you wanted to fight for your heroine, and you wanted the hero to just save the day, but he does it in a very like mental way, which is something it's hard to grasp. So one of my favorites, I pick it up all the time. I have the hard copy. I have it on my iPad, so I'm constantly rereading scenes. But if you're willing to go a little bit out there, this whole series is great. You could read this by itself if you just want to see what you missed a little bit. But again, The Master by Tara Sumi. On a softer note, I wouldn't be the romance novel lover if it wasn't for, especially, excuse me, stuff me and my mom read, and Lisa Kleypas is probably one of our favorites.
I just know the name. Like, every time I would visit Mandy, or whenever Mandy was reading, ever since we first became friends, that name was on like every book, and I was like, how many books could Lisa have possibly written?
She has written so many, as you all know, and my mother loves her, and we've read it all together. This one particularly, once again, kind of going off this last one, is it's all about the relationship, chemistry, trust between our two main characters. This is the last book in the Hathaway series that she has written. Probably one of my favorite series as well, that I know I will talk about in a future episode, because I can't say it enough. And this one follows our Beatrix, the youngest in this family, and her falling in love with Captain Christopher, who actually, the funny, awesome thing is, he falls in love with her via her letters, but he doesn't know it's her writing the letters. He thinks it's somebody else. So, and I think I like Beatrix because she's weird.
There we go.
They all think she's odd, and not really a spoiler alert, but there's one line in here, and she looks to him and she says, "But you think I'm odd?" And he looks back at her, and he kind of leans in real softly. He says, "Darling, you are." And I'm like, there's nothing like someone seeing all your flaws and being like, "I love you anyway." Are you surprised by any of this?
I'm not, although I do have to say, like, the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, like, really has a special place in my heart, because, like, I do love the chemistry between the two main characters.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I read the first book, I was like, there's something missing here.
Oh, God.
I don't understand. And then when I got to the second book, everything clicked into place, and not in a cliche way, but the fact that the romance angle is not the main angle.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, like, that has my favorite female protagonist of any book, hands down, in that series. So I struggled with bringing that, but I had the idea that you were going to bring it up, so I piggybacked on that, and I'm glad I did.
It's probably followed right up by Crescent City, but again, we won't.
That's too early. That's too soon.
Too early. We didn't bring that.
We need to have a completely separate episode about A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then we'll have like the spoiler alert, so you know when to turn off and save your ears. But
yeah,
we need to also have a different one about Crescent City in that series, because
we have a lot of thoughts both sides. She has a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts.
So I have a lot of thoughts about Sarah J. Maas, or Maas, however you pronounce it. Like,
they're gonna come after you.
I know, and it's just, I love her, but God, she can be vicious. So, and I'm here for it. Like, I don't know, like, it doesn't make me a masochist. I was
gonna say, like, we like emotional damage.
Yeah,
we're ready to be hurt again, Sarah. So we're ready for another book. We're ready for our emotions to be taken on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So, but these are our top 3 favorites. What we're really hoping, like we said, moving forward, is we just want to share our love of books with everybody. We hope you'll pick up some of our favorites. And beyond that, we'd love for this to become a little bit bigger and reach out to more people. We want to talk about what y'all want to talk about, and we just want to engage with everyone. And we want y'all to tell us what books y'all want to read.
Also, tell us what you want us to talk about, because each episode won't be book specific. We will talk about things like, I don't understand a lot of the romance terminology, but also Mandy does not understand the appealing nature of thrillers. So it will not be book specific. Yeah. Sometimes it will just be topics. So seriously, like, leave a comment of like what you think it'd be funny for us to talk about. I mean, by this time you should understand that, like, I'm the sarcastic, analytical one, and she's like the emotional, like, butterfly. So if you want to see that dynamic at work about controversial topics or anything having to do with bookstagram, anything like that, just drop some comments below and we'll get to it.
We've got some ideas. I've got some things I'd love to talk about. Going off what Kendall says, there's a lot of things to talk about. I really want to talk about, for thrillers and for romance, the judgment both ways that sometimes people get when you read both of those. If you're weird for reading too much romance, and you're weird for reading too much horror, something's wrong. It'll be good to talk about reading just what you want to do. So I think, with that being said, with our next video, our next podcast, probably should stem from us a couple of things. We'll have to see what it goes. But if anyone has any ideas of what you want us to talk about or go over, please send them over, send a comment, anything like that. Otherwise, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. We're going to start doing more of these. Follow us at the Bookish Besties. There may be some underscores in there. If you need help, we'll just put it somewhere, maybe in the bottom. a video.
We'll make it easy. You'll find it. I have faith in you.
We're studying our tech savviness. We're working on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so thanks for joining us. We were so excited to do this for the first time, and just happy reading.
Yeah. Bye.